What do you feel is that attraction to the end of the world?
Well, it's exciting. It's interesting. Nothing's happening. Life is boring. We don't want that.
My students just think it's cool, and I keep trying to find out why is it so cool, but they like toying with the unknown and the unexpected.
There are a lot of television shows that are out there that kind of have these kind of apocalyptic themes, and then we're recovering from some event that has taken place, and so yeah, it is kind of looks into the social mores and what we can do to fix ourselves.
When society is broken down and everything else is a past tense, you're able to look back and analyze it and be able to make a qualitative assessment.
I do think that sometimes there is a little bit of disappointment that nothing happened. In the back of your head somewhere, you no matter how skeptical you are, you think, maybe, what if? My name's Jeff Franklin. I'm a 3-time apocalyptic prediction survivor. The Mayans didn't predict that the world was going to crack in half. They didn't predict that an asteroid was going to hit us. So it really makes me curious as to what they thought really was going to happen just because the calendar ended. The Millennium Bug was a good thing. The Millennium Bug was fun. Good music came out of it. Prince wrote a hit song. Jobs were actually created with the Millennium Bug. There were some people that really did think that the world was in lots of trouble, that the nuclear missiles were just going to take off out of nowhere because the bug was going to confuse the computers. I mean, there really were people who thought that, and I think the rest of the world was kind of making fun of them. The Cold War was a little bit different than the others. That was a real possibility. That was something that a lot of people were actually a little worried about. The McCarthyism was still in the back of our minds. The Soviet Union was displaying its strength.
It became a system of every time the U.S. got a weapon, the Soviets would add 2, and the Americans would add 3, and then they'd add 4, and we'd add 5. To the point where we have more nuclear weapons between these two countries to destroy the world hundreds of times. The idea of deterrence, though, came through the idea of mutually assured destruction. If the U.S. launches and it hits, someplace in Russia, and the time there's 30 minutes, and they retaliate and send their nuclear missiles over, what is the probability that the United States or the Soviet Union could have actually stopped the entry of those weapons into their country? We might have knocked out a few, but a few could have gotten through. So knowing that each side would destroy the other side, they decided they wouldn't launch.
I think we were being told that was on the table, but we were all hoping that it wasn't. We were all hoping that everyone would have enough restraint to not push the button, and that even if one guy did, that maybe the next guy might be able to refrain.
It only takes one minor catastrophe to start the ball rolling.
I think that most of the world leaders would have enough restraint at this point to not start just an all-out free-for-all.
I don't know if we're going to get the Big Bang, but potentially we could through nuclear accidents like happened in Japan. We could see another Chernobyl. Absolutely, we could see another Chernobyl.
I heard a kind of funny little quip in the news the other day that we actually spend more money for postage for the Congress than we do in terms of asteroid studies and finding these asteroids that could quite possibly cause a lot of devastation on our planet. If you have an asteroid that's probably about the size of Manhattan, then yeah, it would be game over. Devastation would be immense. It would just blanket the entire planet. The meteor that just hit the other day in Russia. It it was only approximately 10 tons and probably about maybe 6 feet in size. And look at all the damage. It was able to damage thousands of buildings and hurt thousands of people.
What's the worst that could happen? A zombie is the worst that could happen. It's death, the absolute last thing you want, and then after that, it's coming back and dealing out death to other people. Right? There's a number of things that could happen in a zombie type way. The first of which is influenza mixing with rabies, and then somebody getting a hold of that and genetically modifying pre-existing viruses and releasing it on the population. Second thing is bath salts. Like, have we forgotten that people were eating other people's faces and taking lots of bullets?
Maybe we're just kind of in a doomsday period where people feel overwhelmed in their lives. There's lots of issues with our economy, with our foreign relationships, with the governments not being quite as honest as maybe they should be about different events.
The insecurity that has come from the economic crunch. You can lose your job, and in losing your job, you can not afford to go and just get food like you usually can.
Maybe some people want the world to end. Maybe they're not happy with their lives, and that would be a way out that would not give them any kind of personal accountability.
It's easier just to blow off a zombie's head and it'd be over with than trying to get a politician out of office. So I think it says a lot about concerns about corruption and the way the political system operates.
And honestly, if you're talking about an apocalypse movie, it's never really about the apocalypse itself. That apocalypse is an obstacle, and it's talking about rebuilding the world or repopulating society with a certain level of good attributes that those characters personify.
Theoretically, if you could figure out a way to survive through one of them, then you could do whatever you wanted and have any kind of government that you wanted. But I think the short-sightedness of that, especially in a nuclear apocalypse, is that eventually, if it's big enough, bad enough, and we go into nuclear winter and things like that, you're not going to be able to stay in a shelter.
We wouldn't have to worry about the population explosion anymore. We'd get a chance to start over, maybe do things a little bit differently. However, the problem with that is I think that our memories being short, we forget why we destroyed ourselves to begin with.
Maybe getting smacked by an asteroid would be kind of like the wake-up call to realize that we are fragile, and we need to we need to think about humanity and maybe going above and beyond where we're at.
If it's going to be a complete extinction event, why bother? Just go out, have fun, party, party like it's 1999, as they said.
If I could pick a way that the world would end, I don't know. I think maybe having an asteroid hit us probably. Just seeing that wall of debris coming at you over 1,000 miles per hour. I think that would be a sight to see.
I think probably my favorite one would be watch the missile come in, have it hit St. Louis, see all of the mayhem that emerges, and then run to St. Louis so I'll immediately die.
If the world ends, it's going to end. If you can survive, do whatever you have to survive, but don't panic. There's always tomorrow.